Hello and welcome to Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk. I was going to call it a chaos-filled Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk because I'm behind on getting the link on our Twitter. But I am Andy Krutzinger, and we are here with Hunter Muller. What does your hat say today?
Repping my where my buddy works, Francis Pumping Well.
Francis Pumping Well?
Out of New London, if you need your
Francis, the New London
anything
Francis.
pumping well-wise with your house or anything like that, give him a call.
Send the bill for that.
You know what I need?
Send the bill to Francis Pumping Well. That's an advertisement.
Up here, but
yeah. Hey, Francis Pumping Well, you owe us some cash. You owe us some cash for that one. And Nick Mullins on the ones and twos. Nick Mullins. Isn't that the dude who plays for San Francisco? Nick Steffens on the one for twos. Former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Nick Mullins is not here today. Also, I'm on different medication for some stuff that's going on in my head. So enjoy the ride with us today because I haven't got used to it yet. Anyway, we're going to talk some high school sports today on Washington Live's YouTube and Facebook, Mount Pleasant Live Facebook, and Fairfield Live Facebook. Also on Spotify, Washington Live. Nick Mullins. I used to really not like Nick Mullins. Did he get a start over C.J. Beathard maybe? If somebody starts over Beathard or it used to be Ricky Stanzi, they're in my bad book for a long time after that. I'm pretty sure.
Talking about Iowa quarterbacks, I remember when Will Stanzi got drafted by the Chiefs and kind of went wild.
I was excited.
Never amounted to anything, but
I should never admit this because you should never cheer for injuries. But when Stanzi was the backup for the Chiefs for a while under Matt Castle, I kind of was at least like, maybe a sprained ankle or something. Just get our boy in there.
We probably could. He probably could have done a little better than Matt Castle, but.
Probably. I forget the other guy that was starting from him, but that'd just be dead air for me thinking about it. So anyway, that was all to say that, you can also follow us on our Twitter at Union Sports page, which once Hunter starts talking about something, I will tweet the live link to this. But we're going to start out with some boys basketball. We've got a pretty busy show because not only do we have the Southeast Conference Boys Basketball Championship decided in the past 7 days, but we have the Super Conference Shootout Championships for both boys and girls basketball. I was at State Girls Wrestling on Thursday. I was there on Thursday. I went Thursday and Friday. And so we have a busy time. And here we are just chatting about whatever, Nick Mullins. So I'll start us off with a little bit of Mount Pleasant boys basketball. And Hunter, I was at the de facto Southeast Conference Championship after this wild ride of who's going to be on top of the SEC and which of these teams is going to stick out because there's 4 teams that can beat each other and there's 4 teams that are about even. And instead, Mount Pleasant, 12 in a row now up to this point, and they played Burlington on Thursday night. I walked in there and said, oh man, it's like a playoff atmosphere. It was packed. It was on Thursday. A lot of the other teams played Friday, so I saw some Fairfield kids there watching. It was a game where if Burlington would have won, they would have basically clinched a share unless they choked in their last game, which I don't think they would have. And Mount Pleasant did win, which earned them the conference championship I almost said for life. That's not true, but for the year anyway. Yep. 67-57 Mount Pleasant. I know you were following this game too, but it was a 17-2 lead for Mount Pleasant right off the bat. Boom. The posts, Nate Stroud and Carter Amos, I thought had probably together their best game of the whole year that I've seen play. And now I'm getting Facebook notifications, so I'm probably complaining about what we talked about at the beginning of this show. And held on. Burlington's a good team, and even down 15, Burlington cut it all the way back to 3 points at some point. At one point, but the Panthers had enough. They led 37-28 at halftime, 53-42 after 3 quarters. Owen Vancicle had a huge 3 at the end of the third quarter, which kind of propelled them, and it turned it from a game where Burlington looked like they were just about to get back into it to a game where Mount Pleasant had enough to hold them off. As I said, they won by 10. Peyton Higgins with 20, which is quiet for him, honestly. Carter Amos, 13. Aiden Ashton, 13, and he took over in the fourth quarter, by the way. Aiden's so good at he's smart, and, he drives in, and he draws fouls and gets some smart shots off. And Nate Stroud with 11 and Owen Vancicle with 10. So they had 5 scorers. All 5 starters were the only scorers, and they all scored in double digits. So that's the definition of balance, right?
Yeah, I said in my story that Mount Pleasant, might at least one of the hottest teams in 3A, if not the entire state, and it's kind of all coming together for him. And I think it's kind of funny you mentioned, quiet night, 20 points for Peyton Higgins.
Yep.
It's like,
which is actually average. But
I know,
but
if you say a quiet game, it's like, man, what's his his popping off game or whatever. But right now, I mean, Mount Pleasant can't be stopped. I mean, you can say like obviously they've played some close games that could have won either way, but they've came out on top, kind of shown what they're kind of made of and what it takes to win. So. Looking for them, that's a good thing heading into the postseason here coming up. So,
not only have they done that, but they've now risen to number 8 in the rankings, which the rankings are by the High School Athletic Association. The same people that put the brackets together. Mm-hmm. Does that mean they're going to get a 1 seed? They're a top 8 seed,
Yep.
And the Girls Athletic Union, they have their rankings. They just take this top 8. So I don't know if this will be the first year for the boys' rankings. But we'll see. And they've still got a week before those come out. And they got a mighty Fairfield Trojans on Friday, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But you were in Washington here recently, and the old Washington boys had their hands full with a team that I think you said the head coach Colin Stark was a little nervous about that might be joining joining us in our sub-state down here by how the map shakes out. So can you tell me, we'll just get out of Williamsburg the other day?
Yeah, Williamsburg taking on Washington, as you said. Williamsburg came out of this one 77-50. Right from the jump, Williamsburg was just kind of, they wanted to pound it down low. They kind of established themselves down low early. That kind of led to some shots from deep, but the Demons really just couldn't stop them down low. I mean, it was closer in the second half, but to start out, it was a 19-8 first quarter that kind of set the tone. Williamsburg only got better in the second. I mean, 1 point better, 20-10 in that second quarter. In the second half, it was a lot closer played game. It would have been a lot closer if that first half was played like the second. The Raiders only outscored the Demons by 6 in the second half altogether, 17-17 in the third. So pretty tight there, and then 21-15 in that fourth. And it was just like that. I think I kind of talked to Coach Stark after the game. Williamsburg being that known kind of for football. Obviously, they were ranked really high in the rankings this season, and it just seemed like they brought like another level of physicality. I don't know, like I haven't seen any team kind of I guess give another team bodies like Williamsburg did.
Yeah, you said they look like a football team out there.
Yeah, and it just kind of looked like it threw Washington off their game a little bit, and obviously, the refs were kind of letting them play, and kids were getting hammered hard.
And Washington's not a small team, really. No. But you said Williamsburg was they're like animals down there.
Yeah, it was kind of wild to watch down in the paint. I mean, bodies were literally flying around like all game long, and Williamsburg just kind of took advantage of that, letting their physicality show. So
yeah, for sure. Well, and moving on with a little boys action, because I saw our third boys team, Fairfield, who up until last night, in my opinion, were about the hottest team around. So we'll jump into the Super Conference Championships after the first commercial break. But spoiler alert, West Burlington beat Waco and handed them their first loss, and it was a battle of the undefeateds this weekend. So what happens? West Burlington goes into Fairfield 2 nights ago now, and it was the Fairfield Trojans over the West Burlington Falcons, 70-63 in that game. The unbeaten Falcons are no more. They're ranked number 5 in 2A coming into that, and they still are because their rankings don't come out until next week. Yep. But it was one of those games where Fairfield finally kind of hit their peak a little bit and was able to show. They have been able to show the last week. I mean, the last couple of weeks they've beaten Burlington, they beat Iowa City High. Now they've beaten West Burlington, and of course they went over Keokuk and Fort Madison in that stretch too. So it was 5 out of 6. Max Wheaton went for 22 points, 20 rebounds. Tate Allen, 22 points. J.J. Lane, 16. So Max Wheaton, by the way, has just been... He almost had a triple-double last night, and I'll jump right into that just to go along with Fairfield here, because they one night after playing West Burlington, they played Mid-Prairie, and I just happened to be at both games. Last night did not quite go Fairfield's way. It was Mid-Prairie in overtime by the final score of 80-73. Fairfield was up a few baskets in the last couple of minutes. Mid-Prairie caused some turnovers, a little havoc, and Mid-Prairie came into that game 4 losses in a row. Fairfield's win would have been, I think, 6 out of the last 7, so it was the ultimate. One team is very hot, one team is very cold in it. Little switcheroo. Cameron Pickard had a really clutch last couple of minutes, but he had 2 clutch free throws with 15 seconds left to tie this thing and send it to overtime last night. He got fouled by Max Wheaton, which was his 4th. And then Wheaton fouled out in the overtime period, and just overall Mid Prairie plays a lot of guys, and they were able to run away from them. That was, as I said, 80 to 73 for Mid Prairie. There, Pickard had 25. Brady Weber had 20. J.J. Lane had 20 for Fairfield last night, and another 22 for Max Wheaton. I think he had 22, 18, and 7 or something like that. I think that was the exact right. But so Fairfield, a tough one last night, but talk about getting chiseled by good teams as you're heading into postseason play.
Well, one thing I was going to say is, looking at three big schools, obviously Mount Pleasant playing about as hot as anybody right now, and looking at Fairfield and Washington, I believe Fairfield's at 500. I don't know, after the loss last night, maybe they're at overall anyway. They're either nine and are they
back
9
to 500? I believe. I'll check here real quick.
But the Washington,
11.
I believe Washington's 10-8. I think.
Mid-Prairie
but either way, my point is that
9-9
we've seen when these
Fairfield.
teams, when those three teams play each other, it's a tight one, and it's like,
Yeah.
if I'm another team on the outside looking in, it's like I definitely wouldn't want to play these teams, because if they give it their best, kind of like how we saw Fairfield against West Burlington, even they could even go another level. So if I was another team looking at one of these threes, I would definitely have them on the radar, and definitely wouldn't want to play them, because if they're playing 100% and playing the top of their potential, it's scary.
We said Fairfield and Mount Pleasant play on Friday. Washington plays Keokuk here, and then they have some games. Fairfield's got to play Clear Creek, Amana still.
Yep.
And Mount Pleasant's got to play Pella still. So there's some.
And I forgot to mention that the Washington boys beat Clear Creek over the weekend. I can't remember.
Yeah. So it's amazing how that. It seems like the SEC teams
Washington
when they play
beat Clear Creek.
non-conference, that's a quality win over a
Yep.
team that might be in the district too. The SEC teams when they play non-conference foes seem to have done really well this year. And
I know.
in the past, there have been seasons when that hasn't been true, but it shows their strength. So I really wonder when I assume they'll all get put in the same bracket, but
Yep.
we don't know that for the sub-states. I wonder if it's going to be a situation where there are 2 a 4-5, a 2-3-4, a 1-3-4, or 1-4-5. There are 1-4-5. You could have Washington and Fairfield potentially playing to play Mount Pleasant in a semifinal. I've got one more thing about this Mid Prairie Fairfield game. I didn't tell you about this, but we're going to do a live taste test. I want you to eat one of these.
Oh, no.
Now, they're 1 day old, but I want you to eat one of these
Where's
and
this
tell
from?
me that's from Mid Prairie High School.
What did they tell you?
I want you to tell me how much you would pay for one of these. Sorry, Nick, you want some of these? Want one? I'll half it. I'll half mine. Oh, I'm gonna make a mess. There we go.
That's a thick cookie.
This is unrelated to the basketball game, kind of. Not really. How much would you pay for one of those? I like to bring snacks and surprise you guys. $100 probably.
Not 100. I don't know. I mean, if I'm looking at the snack shack and I see cookies, I'd probably 2 cookies, $2.
$2? You could get 3 of those bags for $1 last night at Mid Prairie High School. They were raising money for prom. I was flabbergasted at how cheap their bake sale numbers were. So they had a bake sale at Mid Prairie last night. They had bags. There were brownies, cookies, all sorts of baked goods, and you could get 3 bags for $1. It was just like a smorgasbord of food. I was gonna eat it for breakfast this morning, and then I forgot, so I was like, I better bring it so we can eat it on the show. Anyway, that put us behind a little bit, but it was good stuff. It was good stuff. Mid Prairie High School. They probably don't have a lot left, and then I realized afterwards that it was their last game, and that's probably why it was so cheap. But good stuff. That was really good, even a day later. Mount Pleasant girls.
Yep.
Moving on to the Mount Pleasant girls.
Yeah.
They haven't played a while, and they played on the road against Burlington. But they're
coming up, the latest one's Tumwa.
That's right. Lost a
Monday
close one
night.
against the Tumwa. So a
Yep.
couple of bigger schools down 34, and tell me how they've been doing.
Yeah, Mount Pleasant's, like I said, Monday night took on a Tumwa. Really close one. Ended up not going in their favor. The Bulldogs went at 47-44. A really close one throughout. 9-8 after the first. Mount Pleasant led 9-8, led 2017 at the half. Tumwa kind of picked it up in that third quarter there, led 34-30, heading into the fourth. And then Mount Pleasant ended up winning the fourth by 1, 14-13, but couldn't quite get over the top. Coming into this one, obviously we were kind of talking about this before the show. Real nice win over Burlington and Fairfield. And you said Andrea Lopriato had 26 in that win, and
Lopriato and
Tristan
Scholl
Scholl
have had to really take over the even more so lately since Andy Scott's
got
been
injured.
hurt.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So I mean, obviously postseason coming up for them.
Yes.
Those brackets are out, right, for them.
We don't know. They're supposed to
3A
be
and
coming
4A,
out
right?
basically right now. If
The
you're
3A,
watching
4A.
this, The 3A is out for Washington and Fairfield. Mount Pleasant is still waiting on theirs. I should have put my notifications on so we could figure it out. But I would guess that they always have them play Fort Madison or Keokuk.
Yeah.
I was talking to Kurt Watson a couple weeks ago, and he didn't think that they'd have them playing in the first round because they're the 3 best teams in the SEC this year. But I don't think the Union really cares. I think the Union just sees that they're the 3 teams in the southeast corner, and they're probably going to be playing Fort Madison or Keokuk. Low Prado had 30, and Shull had 26
and that
against
Burlington win.
Burlington, so 56 combined for those 2.
So obviously, that wraps up Mount Pleasant's regular season, and now we're waiting for the bracket. So
15 each against the top.
So stay tuned.
Yep.
See who they're playing. Obviously, Washington's got a tough matchup heading up to Assumption, and we'll get to their game against Williamsburg and those last week here shortly after you talk about the Fairfield girls. But
yeah, I was gonna say, hold me to it during commercials. I'll check because the brackets are supposed to come out this afternoon, and guess what? It is this afternoon right now, so any second now. So I got to see some Fairfield Trojan girls basketball, and Fairfield's had a tough stretch. They've had to play Albion, Mount Pleasant, Keokuk, West Burlington, and Knoxville. Those are 5 teams with winning records. Not the easiest schedules for the Trojans. And as I said, they played West Burlington. West Burlington team is now healthy with a healthy Abby Vince, McKenna Marlowe, girls that have been playing for that team for a few years and that are seniors. And West Burlington is certainly one of the better teams around. They beat Fairfield 61-33 the other day. Savannah Hollander had 12 points in that, so she kind of continues to score really well, one of the best scorers in the Southeast Conference, but the Fairfield hasn't really put it together. The wins is Ashlyn Lisk had 7 for Fairfield on, this would have been Friday, right? No, this would have been Monday, because this would have been the same time that the Trojan boys played. Ashlyn Lisk, the only senior on the Fairfield girls basketball team, and head coach Rebecca Becker had some good things to say about her. If you read back the story from would be in Wednesday's paper, so in today's paper. Yep. So she said she was one of the seniors that you'll never forget. So she was really instrumental in the beginning when they had a pretty close, it was close knit for about a quarter and a half, and West Burlington's really good. And then they had to play Knoxville last night, and it was similar. They played with them for 3 quarters, but the 4th quarter they lost by 10. Knoxville ended up beating Fairfield. Let's see, what was the final on that? By 20 points. That was a 62-42 final in favor of Knoxville. So Fairfield's road doesn't get any easier because regionals are coming up. We got the brackets for Fairfield in 3A. They would be playing at second-ranked Solon on
tough matchup
Monday night. So that's a tough matchup. So sorry to the Fairfield Trojan fans, but you're going to need some threes to hit and some need to play at their best to beat Solon. So you never know what's going to happen in the postseason, but that's a murderer's row of teams right there they're into the season with.
Yeah, and looking at Washington, obviously, their first postseason matchup against Davenport Assumption, a team we saw Mid Prairie play last year for a chance to go to state,
stacked.
And they got pretty much everybody back. So tough one for the Demons there, but they took on just like the boys took on Williamsburg on Monday night. Coming into this one, tough little road for them. Lost to Mid Prairie, you were at that one. Tough 8-point loss to Fort Madison, and then on Saturday they took on Clear Creek Amana, who's number 7 in 3A there. And then the Williamsburg matchup, another tough loss, 46-35 for the Demons. Really, really tight knit through a half in this one. Washington led 6-4. At the half, it was 17-17, and in that third quarter, kind of made all the difference. Williamsburg was scorching hot from 3 in that third quarter. They hit a couple to start, and then I believe if I have to double check, but I believe they ended the quarter with 5 straight 3-pointers.
Wow.
And led, all of a sudden it was 39-25 heading into the 4th. So, Washington kind of struggled to score in that second half. They had some easy looks, just kind of couldn't get them to fall. And they ended up winning the 4th 10-9, but just couldn't make up the difference from the damage done in that third quarter there. So, tough loss for them heading into the postseason. But Alex Murphy, 15 points in that one. Adam Long, 8, and Leighton Messenger, 5. Tough loss, as I said, but they got to look ahead and play Assumption this Saturday and try to get it all and get a little upset there.
Yeah, try and get an upset. Yeah, that's tough because they were playing. I mean, they played a really good half against Mid Prairie, a game that by all means Mid Prairie should have been favored by more than they won in that one, and Washington gave them a pretty tough game, and then they almost beat Fort Madison, who's one of the best teams in the conference. So. Then of course they have to play Clear. That's just it's tough. The schedule can get tough.
And one thing you say about those, especially Fairfield and Washington teams is, as you mentioned, Fairfield has one senior.
Yeah.
And Washington's playing at least 5 freshmen that,
they play a lot of
that
freshmen.
get an abundance of minutes. So, I mean, the future's looking bright for those two teams. Obviously, Mount Pleasant has a lot of young girls playing as well. Kind of a little more senior led than the other ones, but
right now the SEC girls basketball is like it's like stacked like this: boom, boom, gap, 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 gap.
Yeah.
It's next year and the year after it'll be a much more crunched up. The teams will be a little closer like this than the boys. But anyway, I was gonna say, speaking of crunched up, and somehow segue that into the commercials, but as I said, on to new medicine, and I'm not as good at the segues right now. They'll come.
Yeah, right.
But we'll be back in 2 minutes. We're going to talk a little small school basketball. So stick with us. 2-minute commercial. Let's do it.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, and Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a type of care that focuses on living. Servicing a 7-county area, the Hospice of Washington County staff of nurses, social work, hospice aides, spiritual and grief support, volunteers, music and massage therapists are able to provide free end-of-life care where the patient lives. We write wills, give consent for organ donation, but rarely is there a plan for what we would want the final phase of our lives. At Hospice of Washington County, we encourage our patients to be in charge of their healthcare decisions while maintaining quality of life.
At the Capper Auto Group, we put our customers' needs first and understand that everyone is as different as the vehicle they select. We offer new Ford, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram vehicles in a friendly environment that puts you in the driver's seat. When it comes to service, we maintain factory-trained technicians and competitive pricing. The Capper Auto Group still believes that service after the sale provides the best customer experience. Come see the Capper experience for yourself.
Tammy takes the time and has the personal interest in each one of us. I don't worry about what's going to happen because I know my policy is taken care of.
She pulls what I need and puts it together, which is the program I get from her.
Every year she calls around September or so and says, there's changes again, and I'm going to do the best thing for you. It's been perfect. She does a great job.
Welcome back to Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk Live, brought to you by the Southeast Iowa Union, which is a newspaper. If anybody doesn't know that yet, go out and subscribe. We're here live on Washington Live's Facebook and YouTube, Mount Pleasant Live Facebook, Fairfield Live Facebook. We're also on Spotify, video and audio. I hope you enjoyed those commercials. Hunter, I told you this so you don't really have to guess, but I'm going to say it anyway. Guess where I ate on Friday after my doctor's appointment?
Oh, gosh. What? He's
not going to remember. You started to say it. Wagon Wheel in Washington. Yep. So I stepped in there. I thought it was gonna be like Hulk Hogan walking into a place where everyone's like, "Oh, it's the guy from Sports Talk." No one really knows me, but it was all you can eat tacos on Friday. Saw Washington girls coach Shannon Rugg there getting his taco fix in, and that almost fueled his team to a win over Fort Madison. Yep. So shout out to Wagon Wheel. That was some good stuff. Yeah. And did you say unbelievable?
No, I mean almost did it. Almost got it.
Almost got it. Yeah, it's all you can eat tacos. There's not a lot of places you can do all you can eat tacos. So
really, it's not.
Just thought about that during the commercial. So we're on to some small school basketball. And Hunter, you were at some of the more exciting smaller school basketball games. There were Waco and Winfield in the shootout, and one of the most hyped up shootout championship nights I think that there's been. Tell me, Winfield and Waco, we got a win and a loss. So
We'll jump into Winfield versus Notre Dame because that was the first game of the night. Obviously, the 2 seeds from the North and South division. If anybody made it down to SEC, obviously the atmosphere in there was electric for both games. 5 or 6 points, I believe. I have to double check. It was 5 or 6 points is all that separated Notre Dame and Winfield at any given point during the game. The finish was basically everything you could ask for in a game. And I think I forgot to mention the final score: 53-52 Winfield. Right down to the wire. Obviously, Notre Dame, I'll take you through the final moments. Obviously, Notre Dame hit a free throw, split up the line, hit a free throw to take the lead, 52-51 with about I believe it was about 40 seconds remaining. And Winfield came down court, got the ball stolen. I think Cam Buffington, got it stripped. And then Notre Dame was looking like they were going to get the easy bucket on the other end. And Buffington jumped. The Notre Dame kid pump faked. Buffington jumped in the air, fell for the pump fake, somehow blocked the shot with his foot. And the ball kind of bumbled around on the ground, and it found Abram Edwards was down.
Johnny on the spot.
I don't know. He was down there, and somehow the ball got in his hands. He was surrounded by about 3 Nikes. He got the ball through down court, found Caleb Geesey. Caleb Geesey kind of lobbed the ball up.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, Cam Buffington's already down court, tips it.
He tipped it over somebody's head, right?
Tips it over somebody's head. Easy lay-in. They take the lead with about 7 seconds left. And, they had 2 fouls to give, so they fouled the Nikes, and Notre Dame ended up taking the ball on the out of bounds, tried throwing it over the top to their big man. Can't remember his name, but he's about 6'6".
Yep.
Tried throwing it over the top, and Buffington was able to kind of jump up, steal the ball, and Winfield pulls out a 2-seeded win there against a battle of the 2 seeds, and it was just a crazy atmosphere from that one. There was a ton of dunks.
Yeah.
But there was about 4 or 5 from Winfield, and one crazy one from Notre Dame too. So it was pretty much everything you could ask for.
Did 4 different Winfield kids dunk? Because I know that I don't know if
Carter
Abram
Lloyd
got one.
Dunked.
Carter Lloyd and Jake Edwards both got one.
Yep. Buffington. Cam Buffington.
Did Abram throw any down?
No,
he didn't. He ruined the 4 in a row tic-tac-toe. Yeah. Anyway, I saw 3 of them. I was watching online.
I was kind of mumbling around there with that explanation, but you get the gist of it.
No, I don't think that was very mumbly. And you can find it on YouTube. Or read about it in the Southeast Iowa Union.
Let's do that.
Waco, speaking of that, West Burlington, they had a tough one, and it was a rare, crazy rare loss for Waco, though, in the championship game there.
This is, the second game, obviously, battle of 1 seeds in the nightcap. Probably the most highly anticipated game of the season, at least for the Union area and down here in Southeast Iowa in general. Obviously, Waco, I believe they were number 7. Or number 5.
I can't remember. I think it was 5. No.
They are number 5 now, but I don't remember.
Waco's 4 and West Burlington was 5. Yeah. That's what it is. Waco was 4, West Burlington was 5. Waco 4 and 1A, West Burlington.
Yeah, obviously, as Andy mentioned earlier, both undefeated at the time, so it was a battle of unbeatens. Someone was going to lose. Right out the gate, West Burlington came out real hot from outside. I think I was talking to you. You watched against Fairfield, as they like the 3 ball, and if they're hitting, and they can shoot, they can shoot.
They can.
And they kind of made that that apparent early in this one, and it was 19-8 after the first quarter, and we haven't seen anybody kind of do that to Wake all year long.
Yeah.
But, didn't take long for the Warriors to answer back. They kind of rallied in the second there. 15-1, Waco outscored the Falcons in that second quarter. It was 23-20, Waco heading in the half, and then. The game kind of got a little more even, but Waco just couldn't. It felt like Waco just couldn't play. Couldn't play their game. It kind of seemed like, West Burlington was able to slow down the game, get in their sets. They hit some big shots late. It was 16-11 in that third quarter, and then in the fourth, the 3 ball kind of started falling again for them. The Falcons' Brady Martin hit a huge 3 at the end of the third at the buzzer from NBA plus, and that kind of just gave West Burlington all the momentum heading into the fourth. And it was 20-10. They outscored them in the fourth for a 56-44 win for West Burlington, and it was kind of one of those games where Waco just felt like the momentum was never with Waco, and they just couldn't. It felt like they just couldn't get in their offensive scheme. That's what it kind of felt like. That's what kind of Coach Kissel said after the game. It was like usually we're used to pressing teams, getting some easy buckets on the other end, and aside from a couple turnovers to start off the press, I can probably only a handful of times that I can count when West Burlington succumbed to the Waco press.
Yeah,
and they were pressing all game long, but West Burlington was breaking it, and like I said, kind of slowed down the game, and were able to get in their offensive sets and hit some big shots from outside, and had a lot of kids. Kissel said they had a lot of kids step up, hit some big shots. So. Yeah, it was a great game, obviously. Highly anticipated, great atmosphere. Not much more you can ask from that, but West Burlington gets a win and hands Waco their first loss.
Yeah, that's by the way, Waco's next game is on the 13th, which would be the Class 1A Sub-State 4 first round.
Yep.
But there's an opening round game between Columbus and Highland on Friday night at Columbus, rematch of a game that you were just at.
Yep.
That Columbus won. And so Waco will play Columbus or Highland. The winner of that will play either New London or Danville, who renews their rivalry on the 13th. And then the winner of those games could be playing against Winfield or Burlington Notre Dame. They're favored to be playing again on the 16th. The potentials for that are potential matchup between Winfield and Notre Dame. You have to get through a couple of teams. First, Winfield plays Wapello. And then if, let's say, Waco and New London were playing, that would be at the same time with the two of those meeting in the district championship sub-state semifinal.
Where's I wanted to mention Waco did bounce back yesterday against Pekin, 55-43. But where's Pekin ranking that? Because Pekin's a team we haven't talked about a lot, but yeah, Pekin.
Yes, Pekin was not in the. Let's see. So in 1A5, so this is 1A4, right?
You don't have to look it up. I just didn't know if they were in there.
1A5 is where Keota is. Wait a minute. 1A6 is where Keota is. They're on the one with Gladbrook Rhinebeck. They're playing North Tama first. Hillcrest is also in that one. In the bottom half, they're opening up with Iowa City Regina, which is kind of fun. They're playing against Mid Prairie, a rival of Mid Prairie. Pekin plays against Lone Tree at the very bottom of the 1A6 sub-state. So they would have to beat Lone Tree, probably North Mahaska, and then maybe either Hillcrest Academy or Linville Sully potentially. But to get to state for Lone Tree, they would have to beat possibly Gladbrook Rhinebeck or the Keota Eagles. Sorry, not Lone Tree, but Pekin.
And Gladbrook Rhinebeck, I believe, is top 10.
Yep, Gladbrook is the favorite in that. So Keota would potentially get them in the semifinals if they can get past. They got North Tama and potentially Belle Plaine. So we've got two different sub-states that our teams were split into.
Not to put you on the spot. I was just kind of curious because
I knew I was going to say it.
We were talking about Pekin. It was a pretty close game for Waco there, and then obviously Pekin only lost to New London by 1, and New London gave Waco a 4-point game as well as Winfield. So
all the brackets are on Varsity Bound, which you can get through from the Iowa High School Iowa High School Athletic Association. But Keota and Hillcrest and Pekin all found themselves in 1A6. And the rest of our teams found themselves in 1A4. So I thought that maybe they'd do separate districts and then come together and be the same sub-state, but they're in totally different sub-states. So potentially we could get two teams a state instead of one, that if you look at a positive on that one. So I was at the girls shootout championship on Friday night because you were there for Saturday. And that was a fun one, and it was Waco and Notre Dame in the game 1. That's a game in the girls' bracket that could be a potential sub-state quarterfinal. That one was won by Notre Dame, 51-45. Waco did what they could to scrap back from a halftime deficit. Ella Kissel had 22 in that. Emma Wagler had 12. She shot a couple from outside. She was playing well inside. They only had 4 scores. Grace Coble and Katie Lichty had 6 and 4. So. Maybe next time they play Notre Dame, they might, I don't know if they need more scores or it was kind of a sloppier game. I actually thought that Waco probably didn't play their best game, and I don't know that Notre Dame did either. Although Notre Dame's got some good kids. Gabby Deary down low has been one of their best athletes for a long time. But yeah, they came back within 6, and then as I said, it was 41-40 Waco after 3 quarters, and they scored 4 in the 4th quarter. They just could not get shots off. They're turning the ball over, so it just kind of a little bit of a rough spell for Waco in that number 2 game, but they will potentially get them back in the postseason here next week. And then in the championship, Winfield Mount Union played Mediapolis, a team that they had crushed at Mediapolis earlier this year. Maybe not crushed, but like 16, 17-point win. It just was not there for Winfield. 50-35 loss. They never got to play with their starting backcourt, basically, because Keaton Townsley had 2 early fouls, so she was out for the whole first half, basically. And then Josie Nelson got hurt temporarily. She did come back into the game, but she got hit in the head, neck area. No foul called on that one, which the Winfield fans are very happy about in the 3rd quarter. So that was about the time that Townsley was back in. So just nothing flowed right for Winfield. It was their first loss of the year, and that's one of our undefeated. So our 2 undefeateds, Waco boys and Winfield girls, lost. But despite that, 14 out of Melina Epping. I thought she had a really good game against Meepo, but that old adage, is it good when you're undefeated and you lose one right before the postseason? I guess we're going to find out with those guys.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is that I feel like it kind of gives them a sense of knowing what they need to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not just going in knowing that you've won every.
Yeah, you just stomp on everybody like we always do.
Yeah,
no big deal. So Mediapolis played well. They hit a lot of shots. I kept thinking that Winfield was going to come back and make it more of a game, but just couldn't do it. So. Winfield's got the number 1 seed and could possibly be playing against Waco or Notre Dame in the semifinals on that. They got to beat probably Holy Trinity in their first game, which Holy Trinity is no joke. They have some good inside girls. So we'll see. That all starts this weekend. You're going to Keota and Waco, the first round game. Tomorrow night.
Yep.
So that's when it all kicks off, and Highland plays tomorrow night, and Hillcrest and New London all play tomorrow night. New London's got Notre Dame at Notre Dame tomorrow night. So again, on Varsity Bound, all the brackets are there. So we're gonna go to a little commercially break here, and we're gonna come back, and I'll tell you my experiences of the first sanctioned girls state wrestling tournament. But we will be back in 2 minutes.
Protection is important, especially when you're talking about your dreams, which is why we're going to keep you covered with plans that can save you up to 23% when you bundle your home and auto. That's protection.
Family owned and operated by Andy and Sarah Ross, Ross Auto has been your vehicle repair and maintenance headquarters since 1935. We specialize in all makes of cars and light-duty trucks. With our variety of available services, let us help you keep rolling and your vehicle operating efficiently. Services include general auto repair, alignments, brakes, fuel injection, and more. Schedule your appointment today at 319-653-5656. That's 319-653-5656.
We're back. Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk live from an undisclosed location in Southeast Iowa. And I almost started with this, but just sticking with the game flow, we usually do basketball first. But I had an experience on Thursday, Hunter, going to the first ever sanctioned Iowa High School Athletic Girls High School Athletic Union, first ever sanctioned wrestling tournament. And we had 13 kids go. Yep. We had a lot of kids. None of them had won their regional, and so no one was favored to win or get top 4 or anything. But we did have one place winner, Mid Prairie's Gabby Robertson, at 100 pounds, the lightest class. Got to see her take down a couple of kids. When I first got there, she was 8th place in the 100-pound bracket, Hunter. So a historic. One of the first ever place winners. When you look up, sanctioned this tournament, which is probably going to go on for the way that girls wrestling is going. It's probably going to go on for quite some time, and she was one of the first ever to stay on that podium. So
yeah, I remember you texting you and say, it was pretty cool. I had to run around a lot, but
it was wild because
it's cool that they're doing that, because obviously we have a lot of girls around here that love to do it and they're good at doing it. So
so there's 8 mats, which is pretty typical. So some tournaments have 8 mats, but 8 mats, and you get there, and we had one at 100. We had Robertson. We had Mount Pleasant's Ella McNamee and Olivia Abbott from Fairfield at 105. And so you immediately get thrown on. You're trying to take a picture of the Mid Prairie kid, then stuff's popping off. Boom, boom, boom. They had an Extreme Arena in Coralville, which is smaller than the place in Des Moines, than Wells Fargo. So it was a crazy one. But among the girls who almost placed but didn't quite, Ella McNamee had a good weekend. She had 3 wins at 105. Tegan Solentich of Washington had 3 wins, including she beat Jelia Gardner from Keokuk in the first match. I got to watch that. Fairfield's Olivia Abbott, a freshman, making her debut at everyone was making their debut sanctioned-wise, but she had a tough time. She had an injury in the first match. She got pinned in the first match, and then had to forfeit in the second match with it was an upper body, I think, a shoulder injury. So it was kind of stunk, but Mid Prairie had 5 girls there. Waco had 3. Braylon Wagler had a good run through the 235-pound bracket. She couldn't quite place, but she, she had 2 wins there. I saw her have a clutch 2-1 win, one of the most exciting matches of the whole experience as far as our kids. 2-1 win in her first round bout, and it was 1-1, and it's fun because there's pins and stuff going on everywhere, so you see all these pops, and all the Waco people were gathered around. She was on an outside mat right next to it. Well, probably the Waco people knew that she was going over there, so moved over there, but she ended up with a couple of wins there, so Highland had Angelina Rolling was there, and Pekin's Leela Miller was there. As I said, 5 from Mid-Prairie and 3 from Waco, and our 3 big school girls, so 1 place winner. But almost everyone won at least one match. There were only 3 kids that didn't win a match, I believe, so it was, a lot of people got to taste what it felt like to win a state wrestling match, so.
Yeah, like I said, it's a pretty cool thing, and obviously we have a lot of girls that are successful at it, so.
Yeah, and it'll rise, too.
Yeah, and we got to see a lot of great girls matches, throughout the season, so a lot of success, too, so.
I thought it was really cool for does sanctioned versus unsanctioned. I don't know how much it really matters, but as I said, it's a growing sport. But we have girls that are seniors. Tegan for Washington is a senior, and Elle McNamee for Mount Pleasant, and Wagler for Waco. We just had a good number of seniors to where they kind of at least got to do it once, where it was sanctioned, where they had the girls' athletic union posters everywhere, and it was wild though. It was like it was a little bit. You could tell it was the first time that they had put that one on because there were lines to get in, and I'm sure there were parents that were a little frustrated at how long it got to get in. Of course, I snuck right by everyone, went to the media door like I always do. But they announced that it was sold out like 20 minutes into on Thursday that it was sold out. So, which I don't know, does that mean that they deny people entry?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't really know what sold out means. Standing room only, at least. So that was pretty cool.
Sold out. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and what's going to feel sold out is district wrestling this weekend. We got kids in Sigourney, the small school kids.
Yep.
We've got kids in Washington. The 2A kids are in Washington, and so we're gonna have some state qualifiers to talk about next week.
We've got some top-ranked wrestlers in their class.
We do. Dom Lopez is number 2 at his weight class. Loudon, that's a New Line kid. Now Loudon Housinga is 6th. The Rothman rankings just came out.
Both of those two, I believe, are 160.
Yeah, 160. Aaron Boone's from Washington is ranked 4th in his weight class. Carlos Valenzuela from Highland is ranked
132, I think.
At 132. I should have had these all pulled up so I could read through all of them, but we have a lot of ranked kids is basically what I'm saying. And so Clara Hand from Mid-Prairie is ranked number 2 in his weight class. Mm-hmm. So expect a lot of state qualifiers to come out of this area this weekend. We'll get the brackets all out, and we'll be able to talk on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty exciting. Speaking of wrestling. You were at some college wrestling last night. Iowa Wrestling has had no luck in getting home meets.
Yep.
They keep having somebody get sick or weather or whatever, but you were there. Tell me what you saw last night.
Yeah, the Tiger women and men both took on Baker University. Battle kind of on the women's side, battle of ranked teams. Yep. The Tigers number 9, Baker number 20. Tough one for Iowa Wesleyan. They narrowly lost 25-21. But I'll just run through the winners here. 101, and needless to say, the Iowa Wesleyan women have a lot of ranked girls wrestling. So at 101, number 9 Elena Sunland was a winner, 10-0 by Tech Fall. Let's see here. At 109, number 15 ranked Faith Cole was a winner by Fall in 1 minute 54 seconds. Let's see here. At 130, Joanna Vanderwood won by decision 11-2. She's ranked number 7. And then at 136, number 1, Adago Nwamchukwa was defeated number 16, Abby Jones for Baker there by Tech Fall 10-0. She keeps rolling. Number 1 rated wrestler in NAIA at 136. At 143, Nadia Abjakovic won by Fall in 2 minutes and 43 seconds. And then let's see here. And that was the final win for the Tigers on the day. Lost the very last match. They lost the last 3. One was a forfeit.
Oh, really?
So tough loss there for them. On the men's side, I was a little more lopsided in Baker's favor in this one, 33-12. The Wildcats won this one. They were rated 17th coming into this as a team. The winners on the day were Brendan Ferencik. He was a winner at 133 by decision 6-3. Brent Ward at 157 was a winner by decision 6-2. Let's see here, and that was the last kind of match that one of the Tiger wrestlers won, and Isaac Butcher was a winner by forfeit at 285. So
there are a good number of forfeits in those still, even at the college level. But so they finally got to play at home. Wesleyan basketball finally returns home. I will be there tonight for the men against St. Ambrose. You will be there tomorrow night against women play Columbia College, who, of course, the High Wesleyan is joining the American Midwest Conference. Columbia in men's and women's is one of the best basketball schools, especially in women's. I went to an AMC school, and I've hated Columbia for 12, 13 years now because they knocked us out of the tournament one day, and one of their players spiked the ball on the center court at home at our place at HLG. So so good thing you're covering that because I'd be super biased for Iowa Wesleyan. But they did play some big CAC games this last weekend. They both beat the pants off of Crowley's Ridge, so I'll skip over those. But they had a couple of big ones each. The women beat Northern New Mexico by 20 points. The women are looking pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're going to be the number 1 seed in that bracket. Isabel West, another huge game, 25-11 for the women there. And Brielle Baker, Brianna Winland, and Megan Teal all had 10 points in that one. And then the men played against Florida College, the only other ranked team in the CAC. It was the game basically to decide who's going to be the 1 seed, in my opinion.
Wasn't even close.
It was the Florida College game? No, it was close.
Wait,
you're thinking of the Crowley Ridge game. The Crowley Ridge game was an absolute blowout.
Yep.
They played Florida College, a team that was number 1 last year when the Iowa Wesleyan hosted the conference championship. Iowa Wesleyan gave them a good game, but they ended up winning. They're kind of a perennial power, and it was they're ranked number 20. Iowa Wesleyan was number 23. Florida College wins 80-77 in overtime. A heartbreaker for Iowa Wesleyan.
That breaks 19 in a row, or
I was 19 in a row. Was it 20 in a row, possibly?
Possibly, yeah.
So new streaks, hopefully starting for the old Wesleyan boys. Hakima Dunzi had 25 points off the bench for Wesleyan in that game. Henry Shannon had 14. So also Joey Brown, 13. Jacoby Jones, 10. Jacoby Jones scored like 32 the other day in a couple games before that. So, that was a little tough. They probably won't get the 1 seed now. It's going to be in Kansas anyway, so it's not like they have to travel down to Florida or anything like that. But one to watch for if those two end up in the CSC championship against each other.
I feel like I say this a lot, but I'd be scared to play the Tigers.
Yeah, I'd be scared to play the Tigers. Oh man, that was one they'd been looking for. I think it got rescheduled. They're supposed to play Florida College earlier this year, but so we're gonna see a little bit. And then we got the SEC bowling meet on Thursday in Mount Pleasant. As I said, we got wrestling. All the basketball tournaments for boys and girls are starting up. So stick with your local newspaper, the Southeast Iowa Union. And you'll see us because we'll be everywhere this weekend. So say hi, say that you watched the show and it's the best show ever. And do we have anything else?
I don't think so.
Super Bowl prediction?
Super Bowl
prediction?
Is that even a question?
You're going to pick the Chiefs.
You got to go Chiefs, man.
I'll pick the Eagles, so then Nick has to be the...
oh, man.
Thumbs up for the Chiefs. Woo. So we officially, not because of me, but our pick at Southeast Iowa Union is that the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl this weekend.
Although I like being an underdog. I wish...
Are they the underdog?
No, they're not. They are the underdog, yeah.
They are?
Yeah.
It's like a coin flip.
It's like 1.5, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get into the fact that I think Patrick Mahomes sometimes fakes an injury a little bit just to get a little get that Superman thing, you know? It's like, I got a hurt ankle, now I'm Superman if I win, and if I lose, it's like I was hurt anyway. So we don't have enough time to complain about that. We're already over. Anyway, that's all Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk.
Yeah.
So for Hunter Muller and Nick, not Nick Mullins, who plays for the Vikings now, but Nick Steffens, we will see you.
You win?
Next week.